Well, welcome. Thank you for joining us. We're so excited to be speaking to you today and to hear about your journey with the IELTS exam. You are truly one of our IELTS heroes. As
Thank
many
you.
people in the group know, passing the IELTS is a huge struggle. It's something that is a really a big nightmare for many people, very frustrating, very overwhelming, and unfortunately, we have no choice. The IELTS is the requirement to come to the US. So if you want to improve your life, earn more money, have all the benefits of coming to the US, you have to get through the IELTS. So Avon is here today to share with us her story, and we're very excited to hear from you, Avon. If you have any specific questions do you go by Avon or Gail? What do you prefer to be called?
I prefer to be called Avon. The pronunciation of my name is Avon.
Avon. Oh, my
Yeah,
apologies, Avon.
it's okay.
So,
All of the people call me by Avon, even my
okay.
friends.
So it's Avon.
It's
Avon.
Avon, Avon.
Avon, I got it. I can relate,
Thank
Avon,
you.
because my name is Tanya and people call me Tanya, Tanya, all different variations. I learned just to
Yes.
answer to whatever variation it is. But
Okay.
Avon, welcome, and we're very excited to have you here. So if you have specific questions, please put those into the chat, and I'd be happy to ask those questions of Avon. And oh, I have a little bit of a noise behind me. But Ammon, if you want to get started and just tell us a little bit about yourself, um, and about who you are, and a little bit about your background.
Okay, I am Avon. My name is Avon, and I am currently residing here in Singapore for about 7 years now. But I have been practicing nursing for over a decade.
Okay.
And of course, it is difficult for me to converse in English because, as we all know, I came from the Philippines, and although our second language is English, it's a different thing when you converse with a native speaker because of the accent and pronunciation.
Okay. So
Mm-mm.
when you were living in the Philippines, how often would you speak English on a day-to-day basis, if at
Actually,
all?
okay, when I was in the Philippines during my primary and secondary years of school, and also during my college days, we are obliged to speak in English around the campus. But
Mhm.
then because we were hard headed at time, and we opt to use our language because it's easier to convey messages with your
Yes.
friends and other individuals, and for them to better understand.
Mhm.
So we don't speak English. We speak our dialect all the time.
Yeah. And that's very typical. I mean, it's really hard to speak in another language where you have to kind of think to yourself all the time, and it's not fluent. It's not like second nature. So I think it's very common and many people can relate to what you're saying, where it's not something you kind of know that you should be practicing it more, but it's in the day-to-dayness of life, you just kind of get busy, and it's just easier to speak in your own dialect. Tell us
Yes.
about your experience with IELTS.
Okay. Recently I took the IELTS exam last June 29th here in Singapore under IDP. It was my second time taking IELTS because I think 10 years ago I took IELTS, but it's under British Council in the Philippines. And eventually, because that time I was not determined to pass, I'm just curious of whether what my scores were when I took the examination, so I didn't prepare for it. I
Yes.
just go with the flow and take it because
Okay.
I thought back then it was like easy because since I know English, but I was wrong. I think that time my scores were low. I think
Okay.
I got 5.5 in both of my reading and writing.
Okay.
However, in my speaking, I got 6, and my listening was 8 that
Okay.
time. Mm.
Well, that
But
I think.
now,
Sorry. Go ahead.
okay,
Go ahead.
okay, and now I took the computer-based examination because I think it would be easier for me since in the writing part there is a word count, so I don't have to spend time in counting those words that needed to be in like the requirement for the words. So it saves me time to think and to expand my answers.
Okay, that's interesting.
Mm.
So that's a great tip for everybody who's listening that can probably relate to what you're saying. So when you took it in June, even though this was now the second time, how did you do, and how did you prepare differently this time when you took it in June, last June?
Yes, because of the COVID, I was supposed to take my examination in the month of May, but since it was we had a lockdown here, so IDP was closed, so I need to reschedule my exam. And since my visa screening will be expiring, I think by the month of April, I have to do something about it and just take the IELTS examination. So I browse the internet and see if there are any uh, uh, free resources to take the IELTS examination because I'm saving money as well.
Mm-hmm.
And luckily enough, I think in the month of May or June, I came up with this connecting swoosh free IELTS support, and it said there that it has free mock examination with a native speaker. So of course, because of this one, I really get into it and joined as much as I could that
Okay.
time. Mm.
Okay. So how long were you when you say you get into it, how long were you into it for? And can you tell us a little bit about what get into it means? Like what did you actually do that really helped you
Oh,
to get to the point?
okay, first things first, because I am taking the IELTS examinations for visa screen, which is I need to have 7 in speaking. And so most of my time I spend it with the speaking. So I really practice my speaking skills and as well as listening because all I need to have is 6.5 in order for me to uh, have the requirement for the business screen. So I
Yes.
told myself that if this is for the visa screen, I need to focus on the things that are my strengths, not my weaknesses, because I am a dyslexic person. So my reading, I'm not like if I read the article for once, I had a hard time grasping the message of it. So I need to read it several times in order for me to know the message. So I said, okay, reading. I think I'm not uh, going to have good grades here. So I practice my speaking, writing, and listening.
Wow, that is so interesting because
Yes.
I think that really shows that you kind of had a strategy when you were looking
Mm,
at it. And I think so inspirational for so many people watching to hear that you have dyslexia, which obviously affects the IELTS in so many, with the reading, it's so much harder for you. And that you got to where you passed and you got to where you needed to go. So really interesting advice there of like strategizing and seeing what you need to focus on more
mm,
specifically, and just kind of counterbalancing your weaknesses, your weaker areas.
yes.
Yeah, very interesting. Tell us a little bit about like what you did in the support group. Can you like how often did you go into the group? What exercises did you work on? Did you have a study partner? Can you tell us anything about like kind of the specifics of what you did?
Oh, okay. Last time if I have time, I really read those practice questions that were being posted in the group.
Hmm.
And as much as possible, I actually have attended three mock speaking examinations with Alexander.
Okay.
And
He's
for
great.
all those three mock exams, I think it is usually the part 3
Uh-huh.
examination, which is like a hard part. And because of his feedback, I learned how to improve on how will I communicate. And of course, speaking with a native speaker is different from speaking with other individuals who has the same dialect as you are, or have different dialect other than English. So I
Yes.
think it helped me boost my confidence as well to like speak my mind.
Okay. And I think that's really a good point because, you know, from our side, that's the reason why we actually chose to work with Swish English. I mean, there are a lot of providers that do online training for IELTS. And from our side, we did a lot of research at Kinetics USA to try and find a company that we felt was really going to be able to help nurses. And that's why we actually picked Swish. Well, one of the reasons, there are many reasons, but one of the reasons is because their educators, their trainers are native English speakers. And I think that you definitely do get a different perspective when you have a native English speaker, as you say, that is evaluating you. There are a lot of other reasons. You know, they are UK companies, so that the criteria are higher in the UK. They were able to get nurses through that. So we thought, well, then they can definitely do it for the US. They also have a passion for helping nurses. So those were just some of the reasons that you know we thought that they would be a really good partner. Can you give us an example of when you were doing the mock exam, or when you were listening to the mock exams with Alexander, of one specific example that really kind of rang true with you, or where he gave one kind of point or tip that really made a lot of sense for you and that really helped you?
Oh, I think he asked me about question regarding like celebration in the country. And because my ideas were just limited. It's not like I know every details of a particular celebration in my country. So I had this quite long process, and for me to be able to think through my ideas and say to him. So yeah, and because of his help, that's why I managed to like speak more fluently than I was speaking with him during the Mac exam.
Okay, so that's a really good tip that he was able to provide for you. Okay. Avon, what about like time? You know, so often right now, even before COVID, it was difficult for nurses to find the time to practice their English. But right now, at this time of crisis with COVID-19, so many nurses are working overtime hours, are working long shifts, coming home, trying to balance family, trying to balance work, feeling exhausted. What advice do you have to any of the nurses who are listening about timing? Any pointers and tips that you can share with people that helped you to pass the exam and to provide enough time to make sure that you had enough time to practice?
Oh, I think if you're really determined, you will really have time to review, even if like 1 hour a day. I think
Okay.
during the month of April, I had to like review. I think in a week, maybe let's say 8 hours a week. Yeah. And so of course, speaking skills is different, so you need to hone them in your own way. Like for me, I listen to podcasts, like English podcasts, especially those storytelling, like the mystery, unexplained mystery, because I'm into horror, like horror
Okay.
movie. And then and then, of course, when talking with my patient, I engage them more and I speak in English, answering them, and I try to focus on the correct way on how I speak to them. And in turn, we had a long conversation. I think it helps as well. Even talking to your colleagues, you can practice by speaking English, and even at home with my sister or my parents, it's kind of awkward because we speak in Tagalog, but I think 2 weeks before my examination, I tried to speak with them in English. I tried
Okay.
speaking most of the time in English.
Those are fabulous tips. I really love that. I thank you for that. I think that's
Thank
such a
you.
good idea to listen to a podcast, to listen to podcasts,
Mm,
especially in a topic that you're interested in, like you like
mm,
horror. I don't know why
yeah.
you like horror, Ed. But I respect your choice. Uh, and you know, I think that's a great idea because it's a topic that you're interested in, and then to get that fluency, and also to speak to your patients and your family members in English, especially that 2 week before. I think that's really great tips and very helpful because sometimes people think you don't have time, so it means like you have to carve out an hour or an hour and a half a day, and that's going to be really difficult when you're working long shifts and extra hours and you know all of that kind of stuff. But if you can put it into your day, like you're speaking to your patient or you're speaking to your family members in English, or maybe get a study partner. Did you have a study partner at all?
Actually, I planned to, but I didn't manage to have a study partner. But for those who will be taking IELTS, it is, I think, a great help if you have a study partner because there's someone who will look after you, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I really believe in study partners. I think that that has it's really helpful because you're going through the content at the same time. So Swoosh will be providing content, and then you're going through the content at the same time, and you can really help each other because you are both on the same page. You know, as you said, speaking to your family members is great because that's great practice, but they're not going through the course the same way as a study partner might be going through the course. So having a study partner, I think, can be really helpful. And we actually are going to be looking at implementing in the free IELTS support group, some breakout study rooms are going to be coming out. So watch for that, anyone who's watching, because you're going to be able to go into a study room and practice with a study partner. So I think Avon's advice in that regard is really good. I just want to see, I know we're getting a lot of comments. Wow, there are a lot of people watching us today. So Eunice is saying, wow, way to go, sister. Al John is saying,
Thank you.
hey Jay, let's watch Avon. Donna is saying hello. Milanis is saying, go Avon. Ray is saying, where did you take the IELTS, should be Jeff? And are you in the UAE? I think you said you're in Singapore, right?
No, I'm in Singapore.
Yeah.
I took it under IDP.
Okay. Okay.
Mm.
And then Charlie said, congrats again. And Jeff, congrats. So everybody's congratulating you.
Thank
Dor,
you.
congrats. Go, Dor France. Let's see. Cindy is watching. Um, Remy has a question. What was your score, Ma'am Avon, the last time you had a mock exam with Sir Alex?
Well, I think when the last time I had the mock exam, he scored me 6.5.
Okay. Okay.
Mm-mm.
So that's also a tribute to you of like just you know never give up and just continue that practice. Just see it as progress steps. As I always say, how do you
Yes,
climb a mountain? One step at a time, right? Crystal is
yes.
saying congrats. Eldrin is saying congrats. So May has a question. She said, congrats, ma'am. I'm concerned about the writing task too. To whom did you ask for help regarding writing corrections?
Okay, actually, I did self-study and I didn't plan to like for to pay for correction because there are a lot of platforms wherein you need to pay some amount of dollar for essay correction, but I didn't do it because I am focused on the 6.5 grade and 7 in speaking. So I told myself, even like if I had a grade like 6.5 or 6, it's okay for me. But for those who are really, because last time during I think my secondary years, I was one of the like involved in writing in my class, if I'm not mistaken. So I think I had a background in writing. But for those people who are having difficulty in writing, I think you need to do essay corrections by an examiner for you to know which part you have problem and for you to improve it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mm.
I think that's really good advice because it's really hard to evaluate that
Yes.
yourself if you're not a native English speaker.
Mm-mm.
So it really is good to have that advice. What would you say, Avon, to those people who say, I can't afford it? Can you?
Well, actually, when I'm having the examination, I mean the real examination, like 50% of me, like t- telling to myself that you should have you should have gone to review center because I was not that confident, and paying for 365 plus dollars is way higher than enrolling yourself in a review center that will definitely help you. But for individuals, you can also assess yourself, and if you really need help to improve your English, I think you better opt to have somebody guiding you in the process.
Yeah. I agree 100%. You know, I think that so often nurses will spend the money on a review center for the NCLEX. And obviously that is a very worthwhile, very important piece of the whole process because without the NCLEX, you're not going to go, you're not going to be able to even get an interview with a client here in the US. But I think that what you're saying about the IELTS is really, really important as well because I see, and that's why it like breaks my heart. This is one of the reasons why we started just the free IELTS support group is because I see nurses wasting so much money by trying to do self-review and just you know and just wasting money. It's just kind of like money down the drain. So, and I think that the keyword that you also said there is the confidence. I think a lot of it is the skill, and I'm sure you would agree. It's like the skill to know how, you know, in terms of the grammar, the idioms, you know, all of these different kinds of pieces. But a lot of it is also the confidence.
I
Do you
think
agree with that?
also in the writing part, you need to learn how to structure your essay because it's not just a normal essay. You need
Yes.
to you need to have your structure in order for you to have a nice like a good grade. So
Yeah.
I think it's better if you have corrections for your essay.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So we see, let me see. So Remy said, I don't want to leave anybody out. Ronalyn said, congrats. Alvin said, congrats. Remy said, can you share your IELTS score if you don't mind?
Okay, I will share it. So
Thank you.
basically my uh, speaking is 7.5, writing is 6.5, reading is 6.5, and listening is 8.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. You truly are an IELTS hero.
Thank
That
you.
must feel good, right?
Yes, I felt great.
I'm sure when you got those results, Avon, you were doing a happy
Yes,
dance, right?
yes.
And
I actually I cried because
yeah,
when you like put your 100% effort in something, then you achieve your goal. It's such an privilege and honor for you. Like you will feel very happy.
yeah. And what you just said now is so inspiring. Thank you for saying that. And thank you for sharing your story. Because I think there's so many
Welcome.
people that are looking for an easy way out. And it's not easy. You have to put in the work. We are here to
Yes.
help you. We're here to support you. The group is here to support each other. I mean, even now we have so many people supporting each other and being there for each other, but you have to do the work. You have to have that 100% commitment so that you can also be doing the happy dance and having a little cry like Avon. So, and that's what we want for everybody in this group. So we want everybody to be able to come on and share their story and be an IELTS hero so that we can inspire the next group of nurses that have to go through this struggle, right? Well, we are out of time, Avon, but thank you so much for sharing your story. I know
Thank you
that
as well very much. I'm
you're
so
welcome.
grateful and honored attending your free mock classes.
Well, we are honored to have you. We are so excited for you. You are on your way. The next step of your journey begins, and we can't wait to see you here in the US. And we hope that everybody watching will be inspired. We know that you will be inspired. Please share this with your friends. Tag your friends and colleagues. Let's get involved in this community. Let's help each other. If you are, Alex always says, don't be a lurker. Don't be somebody who just watches what's going in the group. Let's get involved. Let's do the work so that we can get this obstacle behind you. Thank you so much, Avon, for watching.
Thank
And
you.
sorry, for sharing. And thank you to everybody who for watching. And I'm actually going to jump off now. We're going to be doing a mock exam with Alexander. So for anybody who's watching now, don't go away because we're going to be doing a mock, I think it's speaking exam today. You know, as we say, how do we climb a mountain? One step at a time, right?
Yes.
I'm wishing you continued success, Avon.
Thank you, Tanya.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.